Good afternoon, everyone. This is Matt Tour, uh, annuity specialist here at IAMS. Thanks for joining us today. We'll be joined shortly by Jason Goodrich, the National Accounts Senior Manager from EquiTrust. Today, we'll be discussing some of the benefits of some of the EquiTrust new strategies. I know we've seen some really good results on these strategies this year. The Mark V strategy has been doing a great job this year. We've seen it in the top 3 index strategies across the country regarding results in 2020. And with the stock market continuing to go up a ton one day, down the next, I mean, it's been a constant up and down situation on the stock market. So hopefully we'll see more up days and down days the rest of the year, and we'll see how that plays out. And then the Barclays 50 strategy is also doing quite well. So definitely a nice combination there between those two strategies. Jason will be going over those in detail here in a few minutes, and I'll be going over some information on some of the things we offer here through IAMS here first. We've got a great new producer builder program. You can earn some additional incentives based on production the first 180 days of being contracted. Different levels you can qualify for based on levels of production, anywhere between $100,000 level and $1 million level. Of course, the more you write, the more higher the value is of the program you'll qualify for. We have anywhere between iPads, different seminar systems, Boss radio system, different cash values you can receive based on different levels of production. So really a nice combination there right now based on what's available to you in our new producer builder program. So definitely keep that in mind if you have not written with IAMS before. A great way to earn some additional incentives based on your production. We also have a referred producer program, and you can earn additional monies based on referring agents to IAMS. You receive additional monies up front based on them getting contracted, and then you'll receive an override on their business based on their production throughout the year. So a great way to get some monies sent out to you and build up a nice little bank there. We also have our marketing reimbursement accounts, which are available based on production. And what we do is we reimbursed basically $100 per $100,000 of annuity premium on index premium. We also have a life reimbursement based on SPL business, which is single premium life, also on target life. You get $200 for every $100,000 of premium on that side, and a great way to build up a nice marketing account you can utilize based on your production here through IAMS. And our referred producer program, we have agents that receive thousands of dollars throughout the year based on the referrals. Really nice system we have built there for you, and a great way for you to build up some additional dollars throughout the year based on referring agents to IAMS. Got a great back office support team here, and we've got a great new business team. We also have a good creative department that helps you out with advertising needs. We've got a great marketing team here that can help you out with case specifics. Maybe you want to look at some income comparisons, maybe look at a term quote, or anything it might be on the annuity or life side. We've been glad to help you on both ends of that. A great way for you to get some help on casework and be able to go forward with your cases based on the information you receive through IAMS. We also have a great contracting department. We do most of our contracts now on paperless contracting. You can go on our website and get licensed with a number of companies at one time. Really makes it easy for you as an agent. You don't have to go through and get licensed separately, and you're able to get that done with a click of the mouse. We also have our Firelight paperless e-app system available now. We have a number of companies that utilize the Firelight system, including EquiTrust. I know it does make submitting business very easy. Once you've used it once, twice, it's really easy to get used to, and it helps catch some of the things that are normally left off applications and helps you get the application in a complete basis, and also will help speed up the process based on the fact that the underwriter doesn't have to go through and try to read your handwriting and try to decipher what's being said on the app. Everything is typed in and very user-friendly, and a great way to expedite the whole process of getting applications through the system. So definitely a nice system we utilize there. If you have any questions on that Firelight system, you can call Amber. Anybody in the new business team, you can contact a marketer. They'll be able to help you out with that on your end. As I mentioned, we have a great creative team. They help you out with a lot of solutions you can utilize based on advertising. Maybe you want to redo some stationery. Maybe you want to do an email marketing campaign. Maybe utilize digital marketing, social media marketing. They can help you out with all of that. I know we see a lot of social media using Facebook, LinkedIn, and all the social media networks, Twitter. I know that it's being utilized a lot these days. So they can help you out with all those different systems. Really a good side to go to for some very economical advertising. They don't cost a lot and they do get decent results. So keep that in mind if you're looking at getting involved on that side of it. Of course, when you go to some hard copy advertising, doing mailings, postcards, those costs do add up. Utilizing the mail system, it definitely is a more costly advertising side. So definitely want to take a look at some different options based on the e-marketing and social media marketing and doing it that way. Definitely going to save you some money in the long run based on utilizing those systems. We do have a great website here through IAMS, and we've got a good system we've utilized with the website. We've got some great income calculators on there. You can look at some different returns based on different index strategies. You can look at the current rates on the life and annuity side. You can do quotes on life insurance. Maybe look at the best term quote on an individual based on their age and their health. You can look at some quotes online for that. We have most of our carriers' supplies online. So if you're going out to an appointment tonight, you need to download the application. Everything is up to date on our website and really a good program to utilize based on those needs. So definitely keep that in mind when you're looking at the website, some things that can offer to you in the field and be able to utilize that. We got a great software package you can use with clients called the Retirement Analyzer. It's a full turnkey package. You can plug in a bunch of numbers based on the client's information. It's going to kick out a lot of great details on what the client's looking at for retirement. It's got a lot of good pie charts, bar graphs, a lot of good information you can utilize. You can plug in some different variables based on nursing home stays, premature deaths, different, economical situations you can throw in there. Maybe the person wants to buy a new Corvette when they turn 65, you can throw that in there for a cost. So definitely some different items you can kick into this system. And it's going to kick out some really good details on that side of it. So you want to talk to Marcus in the office. He's a specialist on that side. He'd be glad to help you out on that end. We've opened up a wealth management team here, and I know we've seen some great success on that side of it. And if you want to take a look at the wealth management side of our business, we'd be glad to get you started on that end. I'm going to launch a quick poll here if you do have interest in looking more into that side of the business. We can have Charles Jr. or Michael give you a call on that end of it. I know we've seen a big increase in the wealth management side in our business here the last few years. We've got agents that really build up some nice blocks of business on that side. It has some great platforms for investment options. It has, information you can utilize to get your 65 passed. They'll help you out that whole process, help you, add some additional arrows in your quiver there. That way you're able to take care of both sides of the business, be it securities or insurance. You hate to refer someone down the street, you end up losing that client. Don't ever want to see that happen. But this way you can kind of handle all sides of the business you need to, and you give your clients a really good selection of different programs going from, very safe investments all the way up to the risky side. And that way you can handle all ends of the network. And as clients get older, of course, they're looking for more safety. That's where the insurance comes in, but they also probably still want to have some money in the market based on how long people are living these days. You might see someone live 20, 30 years in retirement or longer, and they definitely need to have the money last them for the rest of their lives. So definitely keep that in mind. Based on this, I'm gonna leave this poll open for another in 20 seconds or so. So if you have interest in being contacted, check off yes. We'd be glad to have one of our wealth management specialists give you a call and be able to get you going on that side of the program. But we've seen a nice, block of business coming in securities the last few years. The market's been on a 12-year run since 2008, so it's definitely been on a nice run on that side of it. And we've seen some nice programs being utilized on that end of the business, so definitely keep that in mind. We do have Jason Goodrich joining us today. I know Jason is the National Accounts Senior Manager there at EquiTrust. He's been with the company for many years. He got started on the life side. He's kind of rotated also into the annuity side the last few years and does a great job with the company. And we've seen a nice block of business going to EquiTrust this year. And we've seen really good, work with them. Their service is outstanding. We always have a very easy time getting in touch with the reps there at EquiTrust. It really makes our job easier if we can get information for you in the field as quickly as possible, and really helps the whole relationship side of the business in order to be able to maximize your clients' situation there based on their needs. So definitely good to have that going. Well, good afternoon, Jason. Glad you could join us today.
Thank you, Matt. Good to be here.
Definitely good to be on a Tuesday afternoon. Hopefully it's not snowing there in Des Moines at this point.
It's raining. It's going to snow in Iowa, but hopefully north of us. So I'm not ready for it yet. No.
Either am I. It's way too early in the season to have snow on the ground. That's for sure. Well, I was going to go ahead and give you control of the presentation here, Jason. Do you have a slide presentation you want to go through here with the group?
Yep, I do.
Okay.
So if I'm going to hand over control, I'll pull it up.
I just went ahead and hand it over. It's coming up on my screen now, so you should be good to go moving forward here.
Sounds good, Matt. Thank you.
Yep.
Good afternoon, everyone. As Matt said, my name is Jason Goodrich, and I'm the National Accounts Senior Manager with EquiTrust Life. First off, I just want to thank everyone for taking some time this afternoon to join me on this webinar, which I'm mainly going to focus on the 4 fixed index annuities with EquiTrust and really how best to position them. Obviously, we're continued to be in some unprecedented times with lots of unknowns, and seems to get worse as time goes on. So I really do appreciate you joining me today. What I plan to do for the webinar is first talk about some of the changes we've made that allows you, an easier time doing business with us in this current environment that we're in, this virtual environment that we're in. And then I also, like Matt said, I want to talk about the 2 new indices we launched last spring and show some of the advantages to them, not only in this environment, but in any environment moving forward. I believe we have some great index annuities, but the addition of these strategies has really helped in the long-term accumulation of a product. So we'll kind of walk through that. And then I'll also walk through the products at a pretty high level, pointing out some niches we have with each one, especially in the current environment. I'll try to keep this to about 25 minutes or so, and leave some time at the end for any questions. But let me obviously thank Matt and all the great folks over at IAMS. Insurance agency marketing has been a tremendous organization with EquiTrust, a leading partner with EquiTrust since the very beginning of EquiTrust 16 years ago. So really do appreciate the relationship with them. With that, let's go ahead and get started. First off, before I get into talking about some of the products and the new indices, as I mentioned, I do want to just mention that you are able to do business completely virtually with EquiTrust now. It used to be that we did require in-person meetings, so you had to meet the client face-to-face to take the application. We did change that last spring once COVID came on. So we do just have a form. So if you're going to meet with a client virtually via video or phone or what have you, there is a form you have to complete. So just make sure you have that and complete that when you do the application. The other thing, and Matt mentioned this, is Firelight. We are completely up and running on Firelight. We're getting the majority of our applications through Firelight. So obviously it makes it a lot easier doing the virtual meeting if you can also do the virtual, the application through the Firelight. The other thing it does is it reduces our NIGOs by a lot. The vast majority of the business we get is in good order when we receive it through Firelight. So we're up and going there. Okay, as far as the 4 index annuities, about a year and a half ago, we kind of did something that's different than what most of the industry did. instead of bringing on more products, we actually reduced our product offering. We went from 9 products down to 4 indexed products about a year and a half ago. But when we did that, we actually improved our competitiveness by reducing our product offerings. It's just been a huge thing for us. And really, what you'll see today as we go through this is we really have kind of 3 main niches when it comes to index annuities as far as product specifications. Number 1 is premium bonuses. I think we are a leader in the industry for offering upfront premium bonuses. You see the 2 products here, which we'll talk about. One's the market power bonus with a 10% premium bonus upfront, and the other one's a market 10 bonus with a 6% bonus. So that's an area where we really are leaders upfront premium bonuses. The second niche I'd mention is just straight accumulation. So no premium bonus, but really putting everything into the rates and the caps and the indexes on the product. We have 2 products on that side, the market value and the market 7, which we'll talk about, which are very clean, very simple, very easy to understand and easy to explain index annuities, really built for long-term growth. And then the third niche is kind of unique in that we offer a return of premium product. That's our market 10 bonus product also with a 6% premium bonus, but it has an underlying guarantee that the client can get their money back at any time, which has always kind of been a big issue, but in the COVID environment, it's even a bigger issue to know they have the flexibility and liquidity of a product like that. And we'll get into that too. So those are kind of the 3, what I'd call the 3 main niches. Okay, Matt had mentioned the 2 new indexes, and we did launch these last spring. The first one I'm going to talk about is the Barclays Focus 50. I'll pull up my little laser pointer so you can see a little better. First off, this index is exclusive to EquiTrust. Okay, it's called the Focus 50. It's only available on the EquiTrust products, the 4 index annuities. We also have it on our 2 single premium life products. Okay, as far as vol control indices, I think it's very easy to understand. Really, it's just looking at a couple different components. Number 1 is the 50 lowest volatility U.S. stocks. So when you look at the 50 lowest volatility U.S. stocks, you're usually talking about what I call the big, boring companies. Some of the companies that make up this group recently include Amazon, Campbell Soup, Colgate, Costco, eBay, Johnson & Johnson, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Kellogg Company, Waste Management, Walmart, Verizon. So all big names that your clients are going to know who they are, and they're going to know that they're big companies and they're stable companies. Right? So you don't see a lot of the companies that have a lot of volatility. These are really your big, stable companies, which I think in the current environment is even more important than ever before. So it allocates between that and then U.S. Treasuries. And for U.S. Treasuries, it just looks at 4 different lengths: a 2-year, a 5-year, a 10-year, and a 30-year. Okay, so it's just going to allocate between those stocks and the 4 different Treasury lengths, and then it uses cash to maintain a 5% vol control. Okay, and then it just rebalances this every month. Now, I will point out, I know it can be a little confusing, and this is actually a very simple index. There is a website. So if you were just to Google Barclays Focus 50, you'd find their website. Has tons of detail about this index on it that your clients can look at too. Also has a very client-friendly video explaining the index. So I encourage you to take a look out there if you have more interest. Obviously, contact Matt or somebody at IAMS too, and they'd be happy to help you. Okay, the other new index we have that we launched last spring, and Matt mentioned this too, is the S&P Mark V. Now, this is not exclusive to EquiTrust. There are some other carriers that have this on their products, so you may be familiar with it. And if you are familiar with it, you probably know it's performed very well. Not just this year, but in previous years, it has a really strong performance. And once again, it's a very simple to understand as far as vol control indexes go. It really has 3 main components along with cash, okay? It uses equities, commodities, and then fixed income, okay? For the equity portion, it's going to use the S&P 500, which is a familiar, index for your clients. For the commodity part, it uses gold, and if you're not aware, gold is a great hedge against inflation, which is why it makes sense to have it as part of the equation here. And the third one is just the 10-year treasury. Okay, so it's just going to use these 3 familiar components, a mix of these that's going to give the best performance while maintaining the 5% volatility. Okay, so it uses cash to help weight that out. Okay, and it rebalances this daily, so it's always changing. Just like with the Barclays Focus 50, though, there is a website out there for the S&P Mark V that gives all historical data. It has a really easy to follow video. that you can show to your clients on it too, and just very helpful. So I do want to point out the website. Now, as far as these two indexes go, let's just look at a little bit of historical results on it. First off, what this chart's showing is just kind of how they've performed against the S&P 500 since coronavirus, right? Since the COVID started, so it goes back to February 13th, and you can see here the line up and down, like Matt said, that's the S&P 500. So it's smoothed out over the last few months, but it's still a lot of volatility, a lot of up and down. The other two lines make up the Barclays and the Mark V, and you can see what they do, how they just stay smooth through all the ups and downs, right? And that's why I think they're important, you know, in the environment we're in now, but even moving forward. You know, oftentimes there's a lot of volatility in the market, so it's a way just to smooth out the ups and downs and get steady returns. Now, what this is showing, this is just going to show the raw index returns between the three strategies. So the S&P 500, the Barclays Focus 50, and the S&P Mark V going back to 2004. So you can see all the returns here, but if we go down to this column, we look at the annualized returns. You can see the annualized return since 2004, the S&P is 6.89, the Barclays is 5.79, the Mark V is 5.17. Keep in mind, though, that these are raw returns. So what that means is these are not applying a cap or a participation rate. As you know, if you sell index annuity strategies have caps and or participation rates or spreads. So obviously, if you were to apply a cap or participation rate, it would change these numbers. Now, you'll see this in a second, but an S&P 500 strategy is going to have quite a bit lower participation rate than one of these two strategies. For example, we have participation rates on the Barclays as high as 115%. Okay, our best participation rate on the S&P 500 is 28%, and that's very competitive in the market. So if you look, so basically you'd be taking 28% of all these numbers against 115% of these numbers. Then basically what you get is a lot better returns in these indexes than you actually get in the S&P 500. Now, I'm not saying, I'm not advocating against not using the S&P 500 because I believe we should use the S&P 500. That's why it makes sense to diversify between other indexes such as the Barclays and the Mark V. And the last column here is just showing year to date. So as you can tell, the S&P 500 has been up and down a lot, but now it's up. This is as of November 5th. It was up over 7.5%. Right, the Barclays was up, but not near as much. It was up a little over 2%, and the Mark V was up over 7% also. But keep in mind, once again, not applying participation rates. So you would want to take that 7.59 times 28%. You could take these two times almost 100%, and you can see the returns would look a lot different then. Okay, so I did want to point out that a little bit. Okay. Next slide on this is just showing the current rates and caps on our products with these strategies. I'll go through this more in a second. Basically, what I want to show you is this last column here, which is the illustrated rate. So if you use an illustration for your index annuity presentations, obviously what we're required to use is the last 10 years. Okay, so with the Barclays, you can see here we have illustrated rates depending on what you choose, ranging from 2.79 on the low end as high as 8.5 annual illustrated rate on the high end. Okay, and then with the Mark V, you can see the range is either 6.11 or 5.48, as we don't have that on all the products. So this is really just to point out the illustrated rates, and you can see just by looking at this that there is a lot of growth potential in our products with these indices. Okay, with that said, let's get into the products a little bit. We'll start out first by talking about our bonus products. The first one is the Market Power Bonus. This is what I would call our flagship product. It is the first index annuity we ever rolled out, and that was almost 17 years ago that we rolled the product out. And it has been our number one product from a sales perspective every year since we rolled it out, except for 1 year. So it's lasted the test of time. It's been very competitive from the very beginning. It hasn't changed hardly at all since we rolled it out either. So some features on it. It is a single premium product. It is a 14-year or 10-year design, and I'll come back to that in a second. Obviously, the big selling point on the product is it does have a 10% premium bonus. As I mentioned, towards the beginning with EquiTrust, our premium bonuses are true cash bonuses. And what I mean by that is we give them a 10% bonus immediately, and we don't have a recapture charge. We don't have a vesting schedule. So if your client puts $100,000 in, they immediately have an account value of $110,000. And for example, if they were to pass away 3 months later, their beneficiary would get that full $110,000. Okay. Issues up to age 75, and we do not reduce commission on 3 of our index annuities. So it pays either 8% or 7%. And what determines whether it's 8 or 7 is if you're in a 14-year state or a 10-year state. And I'll show you that in a second. But that full commission is paid all the way to the maximum age of 75. You can see it's a little different if you use the income rider. Just as an FYI, I'm not going to get into much detail on the income riders for this presentation, just for the sake of time. I will mention income riders at the end, but most of the presentation is going to focus on non-income rider versions of the product. Okay, and we'll get more into this too, but really, why would somebody want to buy a product with a premium bonus? Well, obviously, if they need a premium bonus, right? So if there's one reason or another why a premium bonus is going to benefit your client, obviously it can make sense to do a product like this. And we'll go through some examples of when that might be here in a second. Before I do, though, let me show you this map and show you the rates, and then I'll talk a little more about the bonus. Okay, I mentioned there's 14-year states and 10-year states. There's only 3 states where the product's not approved: California, Delaware, and New York. Every other state we have it. And if you look here, I don't know why we use these colors, but I'm going to call like Iowa dark green and light green. Okay, so if it's a dark green state, it's a 14-year state. If it's a light green state, it's a 10-year state. The only difference between the products, other than the surrender charge length, is the commission. Every one of these states gets the full upfront 10% premium bonus. It's just because this is longer term, the commission's 8%, and this is shorter term, so the commission's 7%. Okay.
But the rates are the same in both states. So if you had a 10-year version versus 14-year, the rates themselves are the same, correct?
Absolutely. Everything's the same except the commission. That's the only difference between them. Yep, rates are the same. Commission, and the client gets a shorter term contract, obviously. That's why the commission is less, because the client is buying a shorter term contract.
Sure.
Yep. Speaking of rates, let's take a look at those. So here are the current rates. I won't go through them all. I'll focus a little bit maybe on the Focus 50 down here, but you can see we have lots of different S&P strategies too. But the current rate for the Focus 50, which is a Barclays strategy, is 40% on the 1-year point-to-point par, and on the 2-year it's 60%. Just to give you an idea, the 60% par, if you were to run an illustration on it, it would illustrate at 4.54%. And I think most clients, if they get a 10% upfront premium bonus and then get a 4% return per year, that's not a bad deal, with a 10% premium bonus. The other thing I want to mention about these two, about this strategy, the Focus 50, is renewal rates. If you're not familiar, and this doesn't apply to all, ball control indexes, but at least with us, we have fixed option budgets or fixed option costs. And what that means is a renewal, your client should not really see these rates change, right? That's not the case with the S&P, right? Because option costs are not fixed. They can change from year to year, so we might not be able to buy the same cap next year as we bought this year. But they are with the Focus 50 for us. So my actuaries tell me the 40% should not really change from year to year. So you'll see very stable option costs. And just to give you some background on that, we have a little history of that. We had another ball control index that was similar that was called the Dynamo. And last time I checked, we'd had 567 renewal rates declared on the Dynamo strategy. Since we'd rolled it out, we'd had 0 changes at renewal. So those 567 declarations of renewal rates, not one time did it go down. And that's how we expect the Focus 50 to work too. And that's another good reason I think it's important to have it on it, as an option within an index, even if you're not going to use it, because it gives you some options at anniversary. If these rates come down a little bit, it gives you an option to reallocate to one of these strategies that did not come down. Okay, so I did want to point that out. Okay, regarding the bonus, I do want to talk about this. I do think there's a little bit of misconception in our industry about premium bonuses, and I hear a lot that, well, why would you sell a premium bonus to the client? They're going to get a lot lower rates and caps. It's going to be a lot better for them to not have a premium bonus to get higher rates and caps. That's what you hear a lot, and In some cases, yes. There are plenty of clients and plenty of situations where it makes sense for them to buy a product without a premium bonus, and we're very competitive there, and I'll talk about that in a second. But there are also situations where I think it makes a lot of sense for the client to buy a product with an upfront bonus. That's what I want to talk about here. So here's just a couple quick examples. The first one here, we're just looking at a fixed index annuity with a 10% bonus and a 3% cap versus a fixed index annuity with no bonus and a 5% cap. What you see is the 10% bonus product. Obviously, it starts out higher, grows at a nice rate. Well, let me back up. For this example, we're looking at the best 10-year period over the last 20 years. So this is the best 10-year period of the S&P 500. Okay, so that's the 10% bonus product growing. This is the non-bonus starting way lower. Now it does eventually catch up with it, but it takes 7 years, right? So if that client was planning on accessing money or needing the money in the first 7 years for one reason or another, it may make sense to do a premium bonus product, even in the best performing S&P environment. Here's a similar example, okay? Same thing, 3% cap for the bonus versus 5% cap for no bonus. The difference is we're gonna look at the worst 10-year period over the last 20 years. And what you see here is it never does catch it in the worst performing period until it does eventually, but it's the 14th year. So in an environment like that where the market just is not performing very well, obviously it's gonna make a lot of sense for them to buy a premium bonus product. Okay, now let's just walk through some examples of that. When does a bonus make sense? Now, the first thing I'll say is that the client has a short time horizon before accessing penalty-free funds, right? If they're going to need to take some money out in the first few years, it could make sense to do a premium bonus. Some examples of that would be wealth transfer, right? Maybe they don't want to buy life insurance or they can't qualify for life insurance, so they're going to use an annuity. This product could make sense because you get that bonus immediately, and it's all part of the death benefit immediately too. Second example would be annuitization. Maybe you do some sort of laddering strategies and things like that, where you're going to annuitize in 5 years. Our index annuities allow for annuitization after the 5th year. Well, if the plan is to annuitize after the 5th year, it's going to help to have an upfront premium bonus and get early accumulation. And third, obviously, is income rider. You know, it's always going to help an income rider to have a premium bonus. Another example when it makes sense is if they're going to take out 10% free withdrawals. You know, I have an advisor I work closely with that does a lot of that as a bridge to Social Security, right? They're going to take out free withdrawals for a few years until they start drawing your Social Security. Well, you know, with a bonus product, your account values are higher in the early years. And because your account values are higher in the early years, your free withdrawal is going to be higher in the early years. So bonus can make sense there. Recover from an underperforming product. You know, maybe they're just in a product that has outperformed. You know, maybe they're in a product where the renewal rates have dropped down, way down. It's a way to get out of that product, get an immediate boost to the new product to make up for the underperformance. Low index performance. You know, it really doesn't matter how high your cap is, how high your participation rate is, if the index doesn't perform. So if you have a 10% cap and the index returns 1%, you still get 1%. Right? If you have a 100% participation rate and the index returns 2%, you still get 2%. Right? So it really doesn't matter unless it performs. And that's kind of a big thing right now. And the last one I just mentioned is something I think we really find ourselves in now, which is a low interest rate environment where rates and caps just aren't very high right now, even on the non-bonus stuff. And if you have caps and rates that aren't very high, you're really limited on your upside potential. So I think in a lower interest rate environment, it makes more sense to use a premium bonus than it does in a higher interest rate environment. So those are just some examples, I think, when a bonus does make sense. Okay, let's look at bonus product number 2, Market 10 bonus. Okay, this one is a 10% bonus. It's a 10-year product. It's a 6% premium bonus, but it is flexible premium. Okay, so it's 6% premium bonus on any premium in the first 5 years. And there is no rolling surrender charge. So if they add money in year 5, that money will get a 6% bonus, but will only have a 5-year surrender charge left on it. Okay, so this is a great product for flexible premium and will also allow a minimum premium of only $5,000 for qualified money on this product. So if you got somebody just starting up an IRA or something, this is a good option for that as well. The other really big feature with this product is it does have a built-in return of premium guarantee. Okay, it's automatically included with the product in every state the product's in. Okay. And what that means is kind of just what it says is if at any time you need your money back, you get all your money back. All right. So if a client puts $100,000 in, something changes, a few months later, worst case scenario, they get their full $100,000 back. It's a really nice feature. There's only I can only think of 3 products in the industry that offer a premium bonus automatically included with the product at no cost. Okay, so it's a really nice feature. This one issues up to age 80, and it does pay the full 6% commission all the way to age 80. We don't reduce it. When does this one make sense? Obviously, the first thing is the ROP, the return of premium, the peace of mind feature it does. The clients buy index annuities, as you know. I mean, they have a plan in mind. They're buying it for a reason. But as we all know, plans change. Things change. Things don't always go as planned. And this is a way to give them some peace of mind knowing they can always get out of it. I mean, I think COVID's a perfect example of this. If somebody bought a Market 10 bonus last year, with the plan just to let it grow for a while, not do much with it, but because of COVID, they lost their job or what have you, or got ill or something and needed money, they could take all their money out and cover that, right? So it's a great peace of mind product. It's a great product to pivot to if an index annuity makes sense for a client, but for some reason they can't, they just can't get over the surrender schedule. I think it's a good option to pivot to. Second one is a way to consolidate financial resources over several years. We see a lot of people use this maybe as a CD replacement. As you know, if a client has a CD, they probably have more than one CD, and they're coming due at different times. Because it pays a 6% bonus for 5 years, it's a way to consolidate all those as they come due and have one product and get a 6% bonus on all that money. Then the last thing I'd mention is Roth conversions, which we're seeing more and more Roth conversions than maybe ever before, because they do make a lot of sense, right now. And how this can work good for Roth conversions, once again, is because of the flexible premium nature of it and the 6% bonus for 5 years. So, maybe a client has some money sitting in an IRA that they would like to convert to a Roth, but they don't want to convert it all at once. So what they can do is they can peel off a little bit every year, send it over to the Market 10 bonus. We will actually do an in-flight conversion. So we will convert it to a Roth before we issue it and before we apply the premium bonus, so they won't get taxed on the premium bonus portion. And then they have a Roth. And then next year, they can send a little more over as an additional premium. We'll convert to a Roth and then apply it to the account. They can do that for 5 years. Right, so it's a way for them to spread out the taxation, slowly convert an IRA to a Roth. You get paid commission on all of it, right, for the first 5 years while they're doing it, and then they have a Roth without a big tax hit at once. I should back up a little bit. As far as the commission, it's 6% first year commission. Years 2 through 5, it would be a 3% commission. Okay, as you send over those, withdrawals each year, you would still get a 3% commission on those. Okay, let's take a look at the rates and caps. Now, what you'll see is the rates are lower on this, and the caps are lower than the 10% bonus product. The reason for that is because of the return of premium. Although there's not an outward cost or fee to the client, there is an internal pricing cost, obviously, to having a feature like that on a product. So it does impact our option budget and how high a rates and caps we can have on the product. Still, though, you can still see it's 35% on the 1 year Barclays and 55 on the 2 year, which is much higher than you're going to get on an S&P. And with the 2 year, you're still going to be illustrating at over 4%, based off an illustration. Okay. Speaking of the 2 year, I did want to mention kind of an allocation strategy. I know a lot of people get concerned about using a 2 year strategy because at the end of the first year, the client is not going to see any returns, right? They're going to see returns every other year, and that can be kind of a tough sell and a tough thing for a client. And you may be familiar with this. It's a pretty common allocation strategy, but we call it ladder for performance. But the idea is you would put 50% of their money in an annual strategy, so like in the 1 year strategy. You'd put 50% in the 2 year strategy. Then at the end of the first year, you would take the money that was in the 1 year strategy and you would reallocate it to its own 2 year strategy. So what happens is at the end of the first year, you now have 2 separate 2 year strategies earning that higher participation rate, but your client's seeing returns every year. Okay, hopefully, assuming it's going up. So on their statement every year, they're seeing growth and they're really maximizing it as much as they can by getting the higher par rates on the 2 year. So I do want to point out, it's a way to make sure that they're getting, they're presumably going to get returns each year. Okay, those are the two bonus products. Now let me focus quickly. This won't take long because there's not a whole lot to them on the two non-bonus products. First one is a market value index. And like I mentioned at the beginning, these are just very clean, simple, easy to understand products. I call it this one our accumulation workhorse. That's what it's built for. There's nothing fancy about it. There's no bells and whistles. It has the normal stuff like 10% pre-withdrawals, full account value at death, all that good stuff. But it's really made to give the client the highest rates we can possibly give the client. Okay. This one also issues to age 80, and it's a 7% commission all the way to age 80. What I'll tell you about this product too is, I mentioned at the beginning that the Market Power Bonus, which is our 10% bonus product, has been our number one product pretty much every year except one. Right now, for the last few weeks, the Market Value has been our top product. It's been just selling very well. It's really driven by the rates and caps. And here they are, and there's a lot of them, as you can see. But I'll go over a few of them. We got a 4.25 on the S&P 500 point-to-point cap, 28 par rate on the S&P. Here's our Barclays Focus 50. You can see we're 80% on the 1 year, 115% on the 2 year. To get some perspective to that, the 1 year illustrates at 6.33, the 2 year illustrates at 8.50. And then this is our first product that has the Mark 5 1 year with a 95% par, and it's illustrating at over 6.11, I think. So, yeah, it looks like it's 6.11. So there's a lot of strategies. One thing I'd like to point out right now, though, is I think, especially with an accumulation product like this, I think it's very important to have a product that has multiple options. Not only multiple options, but multiple competitive options. I think there's a lot of products out there that maybe have one really good strategy. The problem with that is what if that good strategy just doesn't perform for some reason? Or number two, what if the renewal rates come down on it? Then you really have no other options. And at EquiTrust, we don't subsidize our strategies. That's why if you look at these competitively, each one is competitive against the industry. And it gives you a lot of options, not only at issue, but I think more importantly, it gives you a lot of options at your annual reviews when you're talking to your clients about potentially reallocating to different strategies. So we're very competitive there, kind of across the board.
Yeah, one strategy I usually utilize on this contract is I like to do a 50-50 split between the Mark 5 and then the Focus 2 year return. So if you do that, you got 95% par on the Mark 5 on your 1 year reset, and then you have the 115 on the 2 year and the Focus 50. If you took a look at that chart that you had up a number of slides ago that compared the Focus 50 versus the Mark 5 year to year, you can see they really play off each other. Like 1 year the Mark 5 will do better, the next year the Focus 50 do better. So if you look at that, mixing those two strategies, I think you get a really good combination there based on those two contracts, those two indices that you can utilize.
Yeah, let me go back there, Matt, and I'll pull it up real quick.
Yeah, it's one of the first slides you had up there that compared the two side by side.
Yeah, bear with me here. Is it this one?
Yeah, it's that one. So
well, yeah, there's a good example. 12% on the Barclays negative there. You know, yeah, I see what you're saying there. How they kind of.
Yeah, we look at like 2010, the Mark 5 did better, and then 2007, the Mark 5 did better. So they really do.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. And you're using a 1 year strategy and a 2 year strategy, so the clients, hopefully seeing returns each year on their statements.
Right. And this year, I mean, take a look at this year's example. The Mark 5's up, over 7%, where the Barclays was only up like a little bit over 2%. So, you can really get the best of both worlds by mixing those two together. And I think you're gonna see a really good return for your client, on an annual basis with that non-bonus plan. And as you just mentioned, Jason, I think we're starting to see a lot more market value coming in, just because of the interest rate environment, where a lot of your bonus products, the rates have fallen substantially on their caps and par rates, where these non-bonus plans, those rates have been less affected. And if you compare the two illustrations, if you pull the bonus out after that, that first year, you're going to see a drastic difference in your annual returns based on, what these non-bonus plans do compared to a bonus contract, years 2 on. And the one thing I do run into a lot is where clients will call an agent and say, why am I only getting a 2% return? And then they forget about the year before they made over 10 based on the bonus. They look at it today. I mean, I got my renewal statement today. I made 2.4% and the market was up 10. Whereas if you have a plan where you got a more consistent return where they're making, 5, 6, 7% per year, you can get a lot less of those phone calls. The clients are going to be happy. You're going to be able to possibly sell them more programs based on them getting a more consistent return.
Yep, I agree with you. And once again, I think it depends on client need when they're going to access part of the money and things like that. But yeah, I think we're seeing with the current interest rate environment, we're seeing a lot more. We've seen a growth in our market value, our straight accumulation sales compared to the bonus for sure.
Right. Definitely.
Along with that, I just want to mention renewal rates real quick. That can be a big issue, and I know a lot of advisors have been burnt by renewal rates, and I just want to mention we do take a lot of pride in our renewal rate history. I feel like we have a lot of renewal rate integrity. Part of that is because we don't subsidize our stuff, and we're also very transparent with renewal rates. So we post all of our renewal rates on our website, and when I say all of them, I mean all of them. We don't cherry pick the best ones or anything like that. Every policy we've issued, you can go out there and see what it issued at and what the renewal rates were on it. Okay, it's all out there to see. And, they're not perfect. Renewal rates are not perfect. I think the key with renewal rates is, though, from my perspective and also, from an agent perspective, is being able to explain to your client why they came down. And I think we can typically do that. Just as an example here you can see renewal rates. Let me pull up my thing here again. Just this example, you can see renewal rates actually went up. This is a real life example. They started at 6.25. This obviously was years ago when rates were a lot higher. They went up, but then in year 8 they dropped way down, right? But they were higher in year 7 than they were in year 1, which I think is a big deal. They do come down then, and that's because of reinvesting in bonds at that time. We can explain why that happened. So I did want to point out we take a lot of pride in our renewal rates. They are on our website, so you can look those up at any time, and we're very transparent about that. Okay, one more product, and I want to mention the income rider quickly, and we'll kind of wrap things up here. Last one's the Market 7. Very similar to the market value, where we pretty much put everything into the rates and the caps. The difference is it's a 7-year chassis instead of a 10-year chassis. Another difference with this one, though, excuse me, is that it issues up to age 85. So this is our only index annuity that goes up to age 85. It is our only one also that has commission splits, right? So it is a 5.5% commission up to age 75 and then reduces above age 75. So, excuse me, I wanted you to be aware of that. Then the last difference is this guaranteed accumulation value benefit of 107%. What that means is we will do a one-time look at the client's contract after year 7. And if it has not grown by 7%, we'll automatically increase it. Okay, so if a client puts $100,000 in, and on their 7th anniversary, their account value is $106,000 because it just has not performed, we will automatically raise that at that time to $107,000. It's just an automatic thing that happens at the end of 7 years. So basically what that works out to is a 1% simple interest guarantee a year, right? And that's, I think, one of the reasons this product has been very popular as a CD replacement, because I don't know, I've looked lately at CD rates, but the client may not be doing very good in that. They can come over to this and basically guarantee, worst case, 1% a year and be in a tax-deferred product, right? So, and all the advantages that go with index annuities and have tons more growth potential than they would in their CD, obviously. Here's the rates and caps on this. Similar strategies to the market value, similar rates. There's a little bit lower because it's a 7-year product, but it's 4% on the S&P point to point. We're going to have the Barclays. Still 75 par rate on the 1 year, 110 on the 2 year, 85 on the Mark 5. Right, so you're looking at illustrated rates ranging from 5.5 up to over 8 between these 3 strategies. So once again, lots of growth potential. within these, and very good strategies for diversification up here. Okay, last thing, and then I'll kind of close up and we'll see if anybody has any questions, is I didn't get into this, but we do have income riders available on all 4 of these index annuities we talked about. They each have their own index annuity, kind of tailored to what worked best with that product. Okay, all of them on the income side offer a premium bonus. Obviously, got roll-ups. The roll-ups are different depending on which product. Okay, and the fees are different. Okay, so I'm not going into this a lot, but I will say, kind of from a non-guaranteed perspective, if you don't need like a guaranteed income rider, we do get quite a bit of play with the market value, because you saw those rates, you saw those caps, you saw the growth potential, and it is a stackable income rider. So the guarantee is 4%, but that's plus any index credits, right? So if, let's say you do go up 8%, like the illustration says, well, for that year on the income side, we're going to credit 12%, right? 8 plus 4 is 12. And worst case, we're going to credit 4. So I think there is a lot of, and it's actually our cheapest one at 0.95. Okay, so we do see a lot there. We also see a lot in the market 7 actually, because we have a 7% roll up on our market 7 for 7 years. So if their plan is to start drawing income in years 4 to 7, this one is very competitive, kind of in that area. The other competitive thing with the income rider, I'd say, well, let me point out a few of the features, kind of the niches where we're very competitive at. First is the enhanced income withdrawals. What that is the doubler, right? We do have a doubler available on this, and we have some kind of unique niches there, I think. First off, with our doubler, there's no confinement requirement, so they just have to have lost 2 of 6 activities of daily living to qualify. Number 2, it also applies to extreme permanent cognitive impairment. So if they're diagnosed or certified for a doctor as being cognitive impaired, but they can perform all of their ADLs, they would still qualify for this. The third thing about our doubler that I think really makes it unique is that ours stays doubled for 5 years, even if their account value is depleted. Okay, with most income rider doublers, it doubles under one of these things, but then if their account value goes to 0, it reverts back to single payout at that point. Ours does not. So even if their account value goes down to 0 in year 3, we'll still keep the doubled paid until the end of year 5. Okay, so once it's doubled, it stays doubled for the 5 years, even if the account value goes to 0. Another unique thing, it's approved in all the states. Okay, we have our doubler in every state we have our income rider in. So tough states like California, Illinois, we have a doubler in. Okay, so very competitive on the doubler side. Another area that's, it's getting in the weeds a little bit, but where we're unique is how we do spousal continuation with an income rider. So with the income rider, if the owner were to pass away and the spouse were to assume that, we will do what most carriers will do, which is, we'll allow the spouse to continue to receive income payments. The difference for us is we will pay it out for the spouse's lifetime. Okay, so this isn't joint payout. This is single payout. So what would happen? Let's say they choose single payout. The owner passes away. The spouse continues it. We would recalculate based on the spouse's age. So whatever the benefit value is in the spouse's age, we would recalculate that amount and we would pay it out for the spouse's lifetime. Now, most carriers will recalculate it based on the spouse's age and the current value, but they will only pay it out until the account value is depleted. We do not do that. We pay it out for their lifetime too. So, something to think about instead of doing joint payout, right? At the time you're ready to turn on an income rider and you think you're going to do joint payout, well, depending how healthy the person is and things like that, it might make sense to do single payout if you're doing it with us because of this feature. It's a little in the weeds, I know, but I think it is a unique feature. And then lastly, we're one of just a handful of carriers that base our fee on the accumulation value, not on the benefit base. So you saw our fees on the previous slide. You might think those are a little bit higher, but really when you consider that we base it off the accumulation value, they're not, really higher because we're based off the lower value. Okay, just kind of to summarize and wrap up here. Why EquiTrust? First off, we try to keep things simple. We always have. It's kind of been our thing, is simple products, good customer service. We have, we talked about this. We have the return of premium product, which I think is a great product right now and moving forward. Addresses that peace of mind concern the client may have. One of the only true upfront 10% premium bonus products in the industry. spent a lot of time talking about the two new indices and the accumulation focused product with the market value and market 7. And, just as important is the strong renewal rate history that go along with those products, right? Those caps and rates, it's great to have them, in year 1, but it's even greater to have them in years 5, 6, 7, 8. And I didn't get into our fixed products or SPIA, but we have some nice competitive things there too. Just on the SPIA, we're very competitive on SPIAs, especially the period certain SPIAs. We're typically in the top 5. We also pay 3% commission on all of our SPIAs, including our 5-year period certain. So we have some nice niches there as well. With that, I appreciate your time, giving me time to talk today. Matt, do you have anything you want to add, or do you have any questions or anything?
Yeah, we had a couple of questions come up, Jason. We have an individual from California that had a quick question on the power bonus. Think it's ever going to be approved in California, Jason? Is that just one that we're not going to be able to get out there?
No, I don't think it will. Just because of their rules and regulations, we're not able to do the things we are in the other states, because the only way we could get it approved there is to have like a 9% year 1 surrender charge on it, which that's just not. You can't do that with a 10% premium bonus, right? I mean, there's no way a company can afford to do that. So because of that, unless they change the rules, then unfortunately, no, I don't think it will be.
Okay. And the one thing to keep in mind on the bonus rate is that is 100% vested day 1. So, I mean, a lot of your bigger bonus contracts, you have a vesting schedule on that. And with the EquiTrust 10% bonus, that is vested right up front. So that's a nice feature there.
Yeah.
That was one of the questions. And then on the 10% free withdrawal, that's always based on the accumulation account value, Jason?
Yep, correct. With all the products, all the index products, 10% of the accumulation value. Yeah.
Yep. And that's based on the previous anniversary value?
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
So that starts in year 2. You got 10% available based on the anniversary value there, based on that contract.
I'd say it's based on their current account value.
Okay.
Which if they're all in the index, that would be the previous year. But they're using it in the fixed account, it grows daily. You know what I mean? So that's the current account value, which.
Okay.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then what percentage of contracts you have coming in on now, Jason, that actually have the income riders on them? Has that gone down drastically in the last few years?
Yeah, we're pretty low. I'd say, I'm estimating here, but I'd say in the 15% range. When we were in the 20s, probably a year or 2 ago.
Right. Yeah, we see that across the board. I mean, less people are taking the income rider.
Yeah, I think that's an industry kind of wide thing. I mean, we're lower than most probably because more of our focus has been on the accumulation, non-income rider sales. But
right.
Yeah,
that's a good thing. I mean, we see a lot happier customers that are paying less fees or no fees and earning more interest. I mean, that is really a benefit when the client gets their annual statement. They're not seeing those negative numbers coming out based on some of those fees that come out with those riders. But
plus income riders are not near as competitive as they were 10 years ago or whatever. They used to be a lot more competitive than they are now, and because of a lot of industry regulation and pricing considerations and things like that.
Right. Exactly. Well, I appreciate your time this afternoon, Jason. A great presentation there. We appreciate your time here this afternoon, and try to keep this to under an hour, pretty much at an hour right now. But I will be contacting everyone that was on today's webinar. We'll be going over some of the details we covered. I mean, if you can get participation rates up to 115% right now, based on what EquiTrust has to offer at this time, it's really a nice combo. When you look at those uncapped strategies that they have, I mean, you can look at really a nice mix of different strategies you can utilize between the Mark 5, the S&P 500, and then the Barclays 50. You got some definite options there you can utilize, especially when you throw in the gold into that Mark 5. I mean, you look at the gold, it is pretty much at its highest cost right now it's been ever, and then the S&P index is pretty much at its top right now based on where it's been. And then in the last number of years, it's near the peak. So definitely a situation where clients have definitely done well based on those strategies. Otherwise, everyone have a great week. Appreciate your time this afternoon. Any questions? This is Matt. You can reach me at 800-255-5055. I'll be making a call out to everyone that attended today's webinar, and we'll look forward to doing some business with you out there in the field. And I think EquiTrust is really a great direction to head in right now. So everyone have a good week, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye now.
Thanks, everyone.